This is the forgotten World War II story of Japanese women POWs who had been taught to fear black American soldiers more than anything until one moment shattered everything they believed. Summer 1945. Northern Luzon in the Philippines. A small group of Japanese women and children stumbled out of the jungle after weeks of hiding. They were starving, exhausted, terrified. Among them was Aiko Tanaka, carrying her 3-year-old daughter Hannah, whose skin was burning with fever. For years they had lived under strict propaganda. Americans are demons. Black Americans are the worst. Captured, you will be tortured. Your children taken. Better to die than surrender. But now they had no choice. They raised their hands and gave themselves up. What they didn't expect was that the medical station they were brought to belonged to the Un-93rd Infantry Division, one of the segregated African American units serving in the Pacific. When Aiko saw the dark-skinned soldiers approaching, her legs almost gave out. The women recoiled in fear. "Ah!" Some whispered, "Kuroi Noroi," the black curse. One woman cried out, "Don't touch the children." The soldiers looked confused. They had faced discrimination their whole lives, but being seen as monsters was something new. The first man who approached them was Staff Sergeant Elijah Brooks, a medic from Alabama. He wasn't carrying a weapon. He was carrying a water canteen. He set it on the ground and spoke as gently as he could. "You're safe now. Nobody here will hurt you." The interpreter repeated his words. The women stared back in disbelief. Safe from them. Aiko hesitated. Her daughter's breathing was getting worse. Propaganda screamed at her not to ask for help. Reality told her she had no choice. Trembling, she pointed to Hannah's feverish body and whispered, "Hot. She is hot." Elijah moved slowly, hands open. When he touched Hannah's forehead, Aiko nearly flinched. She expected violence. Instead, the medic's hand was warm, calm, human. He called for the tent. Within seconds, the child was rushed inside. Aiko followed, heart pounding. Inside the field medical tent, the black medics worked like lightning, cooling cloths on her chest. Drops of morphine, rehydration salts. A makeshift 4. They whispered encouragement to the little girl they had never met. "Come on, sweetheart, stay with us." Aiko stood frozen, watching the very men she had been told were savages treat her daughter with unimaginable gentleness. Hours later, the fever broke. Hannah opened her eyes. The first person she saw was Elijah, sitting beside her, fanning her with a folded ration box. The child reached toward him weakly. Elijah smiled. Aiko burst into tears. She dropped to her knees in front of him, not in fear, but in gratitude. "Arigato," she cried. "Thank you. Thank you for my daughter." Elijah knelt and lifted her gently. "Child is a child," he said. "We help whoever needs helping." That one sentence, the kindness in its shattered years of propaganda. Over the next days, the medics treated all of the children. Pneumonia, infection, dehydration, malnutrition. The camp changed. The fear disappeared. The women learned the soldiers' names. Elijah, Thompson, Hayes, Doc Harris. They learned their stories, and they realized something painful. They had been lied to their entire lives. One woman whispered, "They are more gentle than our own officers." Another said, "If these are monsters, then everything we believed was false." When the war ended months later, Aiko and her daughter were returned to Japan. Hana survived because of the medics of the 93rd Division. 20 years later, Aiko sent a letter to the U.S. Army Archives. In it, she wrote, "We were taught to fear you, but you saved my child. You saved more than a life. You saved the truth." Elijah Brooks kept a folded drawing. Hannah made for him a little flower with a smiling face inside his Bible until the day he died. And Aiko grew old telling her grandchildren, "The Black American medics were the kindest men I ever knew." If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from, so more untold stories can finally be heard around the world.